before we start.
Before we start, hey, welcome back to Latte Night, and tonight we're joined by a very special guest, Paul. You might know her from One for All. You might have seen her cosplays on the internet. Really well done, by the way, and we're really happy that you agreed to join us tonight. Thank you.
No, of course. I just had to. I had a massive project in the works when you first contacted me, and I was just like, no, I can't deal with any extra things on my plate at the moment. So, yeah, no, I waited until it was all over, and then I'm only now am I actually seeing my friends in the last couple of weeks. So up until this point, I'm like, no one's allowed to see me. I'm a mess.
Well, you don't show it, so good job.
Oh.
So,
It's true.
traditionally, with all our guests, we would like to first ask you for your earliest experience with any kind of tabletop games, RPGs. What was your first game? When was this? How was it?
So it was about 2 or 3 years ago, and I met some friends through work, and they pretty much like I had heard of Dungeons and Dragons kind of like through the osmosis. Like I heard people talking about it. I heard that it was like the epitome of like nerd culture was D&D. I already been like cosplaying for such a long time that I was already like kind of in that culture already, and so it kind of felt like why not? Like I'd like to join. And some friends told me that they were planning a game, and they were like, "You can come. We'll trial you out, and we'll see how you go with it. And then if you're all right, then you can join our other campaign." And suffice to say, I think I did okay. And yeah, so then they let me join their main game, and then now they're some of my best friends, and I haven't stopped playing since then. So it's been around 2 or 3 years now since I've started playing D&D.
Oh, so you really got into it a little late in your life then.
Yeah, I did. Like, I mean, I wanted to get into it earlier, but I didn't really know how to get into it. I didn't know, like, I didn't have friends who were already playing it. So it was always like a thing of like, how do we take that dive in? And then luckily I met some friends who already like had been playing for many years. They all knew how to DM and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I was able to get into it through them, and honestly, it's changed my life. It's changed the entire course of my life. Yeah, so I mean, I've told them before that they are my origin story, and that my first DM, he's like, well, you have to put me down as your villain, as the villain in your story who's like brought you down this path, and I'm like, yeah, that's fair.
So I suppose the next kind of most obvious question is how did you come across, One for All, Deepstalker Pictures? How did that all start?
So Deepstalker Pictures here in the Sydney Australian community they're quite well known already. So they've been established for quite a while as like cosplay videographers. They'll come through all the different conventions along the east coast of Australia, so Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast, Brisbane areas. And they'll like video people in cosplay and all that sort of stuff. And then they started branching into YouTube, and they started making all these really cool like fandom videos, like Naruto, Persona 5, all those sorts of shows. Anyway, and so then I heard through a mutual friend, hey, I've got my friends who are wanting to put a show together about D&D. And at that time, my friend, I was actually a DM in a game that he was playing. He was a player and I was his DM. And he's like, I think you'd be interested in being in this, because he knew that I had done acting before. I've done acting lessons since I was about 7 years old. So, and it's always been my dream to kind of get into acting, and cosplay's always been a massive way for me to express, acting and, taking on personas or creativity, that sort of stuff. And he was like, I think you should audition for it. And so he introduced me to them at a convention, that I had been drinking at. And unfortunately, when I first met Deepstalkers, I was a little bit intoxicated and thought it would be like, I had to I was like, oh my God, I was really flustered. And I was like, oh no, so I was like, oh no, I'm a professional actor, yeah, and I've done this and this and this, and did I tell you that I've done this and this and this? And like, yeah, you've told us like 3 times already. You can shut up. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I wanted to put my best foot forward, but unfortunately, I was not of sober mind. They said, okay, look, you can audition. And so they sent me a script, and I auditioned like this actually through a video that I sent them, and I just kind of played around with the character that they gave me, which they basically said she's a tiefling pyromaniac, and she's got a bit of a sadistic side. I'm like, okay, cool, I can work with that. And so I auditioned, I gave them my tape, and they messaged me a couple of days later and were like, hey, we want to give you the role. And I was like, yes. And so yeah, then I got involved, and that's how I got part of Nixie. It's a story.
No, that was great.
It is a great story, though. Very
that was
interesting.
great.
I wish I could say that it was a bit more professional, but no, unfortunately, I did not give them the best impression of me straight away.
But where else are you going to get a job while you're inebriated in the interview, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, maybe they saw the inner Nixie in you.
Yes, they saw the Nixie in you.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Jay?
They saw the chaos and like, this is it.
You embody chaos perfectly.
Jay?
I don't know. I don't
Speaking
know
of
what I'm into, but
Actually, speaking of Nixie, I would like to ask, you, Fall, as a person, how do you identify with Nixie as the character?
Nixie is a lot of fun to play. Like, she's a lot of fun to kind of embody it. It's I tend to like to flesh out the characters internally a lot more than probably is required, especially for a character like Nixie. With a comedy series like we're going for, we've got, you don't need to flesh out the characters that much for there to be a lot of comedic material. Essentially, the way that she is now, she is quite, I don't want to say innocent because she's not. She's
Spirited?
She's got like that childish. Yeah, exactly. She's just childish. And we showed that with the lollipops and the way that she kind of talks, and she's kind of got that girlish nature to her. Which, funnily enough, like I enjoy embodying that. I'm not necessarily a very girlish person, but I enjoy embodying that kind of femininity. But with her femininity comes this power and this like kind of unbridled sadism, where she's where she really does enjoy the powerfulness of fire, and it's uncontrolled, and there's it's beautiful, but it's terrifying and awe-inspiring, and that's kind of what she is about. She's kind of like, I'm disarming because I'm cute and feminine, but mess with me and you're gonna get burnt. I like to think of her as being chaotic lawful, in the fact that she has a set of like guidelines and rules and morals. You just have no idea what they are. Like, it's kind of chaotic, and that's kind of what she is. She's very chaotic, and then she's also kind of got that stupidity about her as well. So she's not necessarily the smartest person, but that kind of also makes her a bit scarier because she's got no real like there's no real reason to her behavior. Yeah, I don't know. She's chaos. She's chaos embodied. So I guess for me, it's just the fact that I get to let loose. I get to be completely. It's fun.
Curious question: would you play a
Really
character
good
like that?
show.
Would you play a character like that in a home game campaign?
Mhm.
I don't think I hate any DM enough. It's very chaotic that I honestly think that it would be annoying for any DM to have to deal with her on a board. I've had people ask me before to like send out sheets and all that sort of stuff because like I want to play her, I want to make her a character, and I'm like, actually, please don't do that to your DM. Please. Like, oh my god, like she's going to completely derail any sort of campaign that she would be in, like a serious campaign. There's a reason why she's in this group in one brawl, and the fact that we can kind of like control her destruction, but if there's no script, like she is just going to destroy everything.
The very first video that our DM here, Nigel, has sent us is the Murder Hobo episode of One for All, and that is where I was introduced to you guys. I would like to know if there's some sort of an inspiration where you get all the topics in your episode. Does it come from an actual game that you guys play or something?
So most of the time, it does come from games that we've played, and kind of just scenarios that tend to come up and moral questions that seem to come about when you play. So Murder Hobos is essentially a scenario that I think every campaign has had to deal with at some point, especially when you're a new player. I think that when you're a new player, you tend to kind of go gung-ho into playing the game, and you kind of tend to forget that the people that you're facing might not necessarily need to die. I mean, they can. You can kill them, because in a fantasy world where you have massive swords and all that sort of stuff, you can kill as many people as you want. It then becomes a question of should you? And I think when you're a new player, you kind of get so excited by the aspect of being able to that you just kind of don't think about that until later on when it's like, oh, we have consequences. Yeah. And what we really wanted to play on in that episode was the aspect of the DM trying to give us consequences where ends up like he's almost trying to appeal to our better selves. Unfortunately, none of his characters have better selves.
Actually,
he's trying to appeal to us by being like, look, you're killing more people, here are some tabaxi orphans. And our character's like, oh, more murder. Like, so it was definitely, and then of course we questioned it again with Nixie, like, are we the bad guy? Like,
I really like that one.
Yeah, and it's fun. It has been memed now with the current political climate. But yeah, like people just being like, "Are we the bad guy?" But yeah, unfortunately, his players just aren't very good people. Like that's the comedy of it. We're just terrible people. And when you give us scenarios that are meant to appeal to our better selves, they're just not there.
Yeah, and I mean the time that when Nigel sent us those video is the time in our session that we choose the Yuan-Ti against the humans. So I mean, it's like asking, are we the bad guys? We don't know what the Yuan-Ti is.
You were the bad guys.
Oh yeah.
It's just funny because I relate to that so much. These two were brought into tabletop because of me, and both of them in their first games ever went the route of destroying everything in sight and just kill this.
It's like when you're allowed to, like that's the difference I would say between like a game like did you guys ever play Simpsons Hit and Run?
Absolutely.
Like growing up. You did? Okay, so with Simpsons Hit and Run, you can pretty much like destroy a whole bunch of you can hit people, you can
Run
destroy
them over.
property, you can run things over, like all this sort of stuff. And then it's like there are no real consequences. Like you can get the police to chase you, but like you don't have like there's no real consequences. And then the difference between like that and say like Skyrim, where it's like you kill one person and you can never go back to that town ever. And it's like the difference between the consequence of, oh, maybe someone will chase you for a little bit, but there's no real heavy consequences. You can keep playing the game. Nothing really changes. To you can now never go back to this certain part of the map because you killed one person accidentally. And that's the thing I feel with like D&D is that when you first go in, you're like, there are no consequences. We control everything. Like we are the god of this world. But then you forget, no, the DM is the god of the world. And in fact, if they play it right, there should always be consequences for your actions. And so therefore, if you murder people, you should never be allowed to go back because you are now wanted criminal.
Yeah.
Speaking of consequences, one of my favorite episodes from One for All is when Andreas was trying to seduce that what was it, Thiefling, and I was thinking that when that first came out, when I was watching it, my head just immediately went, okay, he's gonna roll a 1 and it's gonna be bad because that's what's happened to you guys for the most part. You guys keep rolling 1s. And then he just keeps getting a 20, and it's like it worked. It's like, oh, where is this going? And are you immune to diseases? It's like
that is probably one of the funniest for me to film. I don't know if you guys ever saw like the behind the scenes, the bloopers that we put out as well, but there was one point during I think that episode where I was laughing so hard during the tabletop that I had my makeup began to because I was crying. I started crying, laughing so hard, and my makeup came off. And so we had to stop filming for like another like 20 minutes while I went back and I just washed my face and then reapplied all my makeup because we had been laughing so hard during it. Like, because we get a little bit wild sometimes when we film. Like, we tend to, riff off each other and make all these jokes and all this sort of stuff. And, the people who are behind the scenes are hilarious. Like, I love working with these people. It's so funny. And so it's really incredible some of the stuff that we come up with behind the scenes. But oh my god, that one episode was wild.
It was so striking too because it completely changed everything that you guys set as a precedent. Like all the episodes, you guys get 1s and the hilarious results of that, and then suddenly you guys get a string of 20s, and the payoff at the end was just so funny.
And it's that one. It's always the 20s though, when it's like that one scenario that like probably didn't need a 20, but you get it anyway.
Yeah.
It was like the one time something went right according to plan, and it still went wrong. That's what I loved about it.
Oh my god.
Just
watching Kendall and Andreas just go between the points when they were having to do like the moaning across the table and Andreas.
How do you keep a straight face at that?
We lost it so many times. But we had to be professional at some point. So we got over it, but it was still so funny.
Well, since you brought it up, I wanted to ask, with all the makeup involved in basically turning your skin pink and everything, how long does that actually take to apply the full costume to you? Specifically, because I think they just have ears and armor, but you have a full body makeup and the wig. How long does that take? So
definitely out of the 3 main cast PC characters, my makeup does take the longest. So unfortunately, how we'll end up is that I'll end up at on set at about 8 a.m. Makeup ready to go, or sometimes already with my makeup on, depending on the shoot. And then about usually Eva will be a couple minutes like after, and then she can start, and then Andreas, he can just turn up at 5 minutes too and just get dressed and he's fine. So for me, before we got the makeup artist, so this was like the first couple of episodes, I would be doing my makeup all by myself. So that would be, I want to say maybe around 1 to 2 hours it would take me to get into it. 1.5 to 2 hours, I'd say. The base was pretty easy to put on. It was more just the fact that I would have to mix it, because it's not just a paint that comes straight from a pot that I put onto my skin. I mix it in with foundation, which helps. So I get like a water-activated pigment face paint, and then I grab that and I mix it in with, say, like white foundation or very light foundation. And then that way, when I apply it on, it is a bit more muted. So it's not like very bright, like it's not a very bright color, which I find doesn't really work for skin anyway. And then also when it applies, it stays a little bit oily, so it kind of fits in with my skin and pores and all that sort of stuff. It applies on a little bit thinner than if I was to apply paint, and also doesn't crack and is less likely to come off with sweat. So it's been a lifesaver, that tip, to applying, makeup and paint on my face. And every time that someone asks, "Oh, how do you do it?" It's mostly just, okay, just mix it in with foundation, because that's definitely going to help you out. But yeah, it's just the mixing of that, to be honest, because I have to keep mixing it to make more, to keep painting parts of my costume. So yeah, we've decided that with each time that we update Nixie's costume, I'm going to be showing less and less skin, so I have less and less to paint.
Is that what the costume change was about?
No, I mean, look, it was partially brought on because of the fact that we were filming during Australian summer, which can have tops of around 45 degrees.
Oh.
So when we go outside in these very big costumes, we were dying. Like, especially poor Evandra, like she had fur and then like double velvet and all this, and then armor on top of that. So it got very extreme for her in the heat. So we decided that it was probably best to redo costumes, especially also for the new season. So we'll have it that, like, with the level up, that they've got new outfits. I mean, it happened a lot quicker than we expected it to, but yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm kind of happy with my new costume. There were definitely some parts of my old costume that I did want to fix. And so with the new costume, I got Laura to help me out with it, and she was able to put together a really awesome costume for me. So yeah, I'm really happy with the new one.
Actually, are you involved in the costume design? Just curious, because you are a costume designer, right?
Yes. So I actually made the first costume for Nixie. During the lead up to the first episode. I think they gave me like a month or so to make it. And I didn't end up making it until like the last week because I'm a procrastinator. Yeah, I made that costume in about a week. And it's still one of my favorite costumes that I've made. But yeah, when it came to the second season, unfortunately, I was dealing with a lot of mental health problems around that time, and family problems, and just a whole bunch of stuff that was just making it very hard for me to focus in on making that costume. And so luckily at the time, Eva was able to help me out with it and take it off my hands, just so that, I was able to kind of take a step back and just take that time just to focus in on myself while the costume was being looked after. So that was a huge sigh of relief for me. So yeah, while I didn't really get to have my hands in that costume, the next costume will definitely be mine.
Okay, I would like to ask, can you talk us through your emotions during this Green Australia announcement? Because you were the very first one that was so happy when it was announced.
So Eva and I, like, only I think a night before the announcement, had been talking. And, we were basically just talking about where we were, because during this time, I was still in a job because of COVID. I was an essential worker. And I say essential worker because I work in a fabric store, and I didn't really feel like that was essential, but apparently the government says it is. So government says it's essential. All right, whatever. I'm happy I still had a job. but unfortunately, Ever at that time wasn't able to, because she's a dance teacher, and she's also a performer. She's a very, very, very talented dancer, burlesque performer and everything. And so we'd kind of just been talking about how we were going, just catching up with each other. And I think we kind of just got onto the topic of, where One for All was going to go. Because for me, it was important because it's one of my only acting jobs that I've had of late. And, having this was really important to me for those reasons. For her, it was, a source of employment. And so we were both, just being like, God, we hope that phone call comes in soon, because, we had applied ages ago, and, things were getting a bit tight, money-wise, because One for All at that time was fully self-funded by Deerstalkers. So any cent that came in from Patreon, YouTube, sales from like merch, anything like that went straight back into the show. Paying for locations, paying for equipment, paying for people to, employing people to come in and help. And paying, and also we were getting, a small amount as well, just to per episode. We were getting a small amount back as well, which was really, really good for us. So it was getting really down to the wire, and then because of COVID, we weren't able to make any more episodes, and that really made things very difficult for us. Unfortunately, Andreas, who is also down in Melbourne, is completely in lockdown, so no one's allowed to leave the state. And because we're in New South Wales, we weren't able to bring him up as well, so that was also really stressing us out. And then we got told that we were going to be funded by Screen Australia, and that's amazing, because not only does that mean that everyone's going to get paid, like properly paid, it also gives like us a bit of I don't want to say prestige, but there's definitely there's something that really helps ground our production. Like, it really helps it seem more professional when we're getting proper funding from a government body who is going, yeah, we think that what you're making is worth us giving you money. And that's incredible to us. I will always say that I never expected it to go this way. Like, I never expected it to grow as much as it did in the year that we've been doing it. But it has. It's just, it's insane to me. It's just blown out of any sort of proportion that I thought it was going to get to. Like, I thought, okay, this will be fun. I didn't expect it to go this way. And, even doing things like this, you guys, it's crazy to me. It's like, I don't, I don't know. It's like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
I mean, the fact that you guys can pull off something like that on a YouTube, Patreon, and anything budget is already impressive in itself. Now that you have a real budget, my question is there plans to make these sort of skits a little longer, like a small mini show? Or has the plan remained unchanged since the funding? Like, this is still what we're going to be doing?
So with the Screen Australia, essentially they've agreed to fund 6 5-minute episodes. So they won't be getting necessarily longer. It just means that we're getting more budget for the amount of time that we've already put in. That being said, I mean, look, we've always talked about, expanding, making it a bit longer. The issue is that considering the fact that just to make 1 5-minute episode, we're already talking about 2 days of filming. 2 or 5 minutes. Yeah, exactly. So it's already quite a lot of filming just for a small amount. So then for us to expand it to say 10 or 15 minutes, we'd be talking about a week of filming, and then much more for post-production. So it's definitely something that we'd love to look at. Unfortunately, at this point, I can't say that that's exactly in the horizon or in the immediate future. It's possibly going to be more of a long-term goal though, possibly. I can't really speak for Deerstalkers though and what their plans are, unfortunately. That's definitely something that Goldie and Elliot would have to decide. But I mean, look, we're always looking to expand the show and make it bigger and better. And to be honest, like as much as I would love to do longer episodes as well, I do enjoy the small bite-sized amount that we put out, because it's so easy for people to kind of watch just quickly, and it'll keep their attention for that amount of time. Like, we're not asking people to dedicate half an hour to us. It's just 5 minutes here and there, and then and then you go back and you binge watch it, and it's like, oh, that took me like 45 minutes to get through all of them, plus bloopers. So we're putting out content as much as we can currently, and hopefully one day we can put more out. I mean, yeah, that'd be a great way to expand the show. Just probably, I don't know how soon that'll be.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can binge it all in an hour, maybe, including all the bloopers and everything. But there's also that feeling, at least for me, the feeling of, you kind of want more, but you also, I mean, we all get that it's hard to do that, but, there's always that feeling that you kind of want to see a little more.
And I totally get that. Like, to be honest, like, I want to do more. Like, I'd love to be filming more. I'd love to be putting more content out, even if it's, more casual content. But unfortunately, with the way that the production is, it's only Goldie and Elliot, and they're the duo that's, doing all the post-production stuff. And so unless we expand the production side of things and have more people editing and have more people who are involved in that aspect, it's probably going to be too hard on them to do other kinds of content unless, we have other people to help out with that. But yeah, I mean, look, I think the sentiment is definitely resoundingly that people want more. It's
Absolutely.
just, we kind of, like, the demand is there. We just need to make the supply.
No problem. I wanted to ask you actually a personal thing, is that you said that you were an actress by default. Before One for All became as big as it is, you did mention that you didn't expect it to. How was your, let's call it, following, or that sort of, how was your life before this, and how did this change it in terms of your image or your privacy, or not privacy, but just your general following,
Yeah. So before this, I had been, I mean, look, this is probably just the best, example. I had been on Instagram probably since around, I want to say 2013, 2014. And so I've been on Instagram, but like, I didn't do much on it. Like, I would post a photo here and there when I did cosplay, but not anything, too grand. And, for a while I was plottering around, maybe about, a couple of hundred followers, maybe 200-300, something like that. And then I started, actually putting more time into, making posts and tagging them properly and all that sort of stuff. And then I'd say it got to around, let's say about 2018. And then I started cosplaying, actually around 2017. So up until that point, I had been predominantly only cosplaying males. I was young at the time, I was under 18, and so I was, very much like I wanted to cosplay males as almost like a way to protect myself. I found it a lot easier not to deal with, creepy people when I was just as a boy. I found it a lot easier to deal with them. And I also found that I wasn't getting approached as much as people my age who were dressed up as girls, like cute anime girls. And so I preferred being a guy. And then as I turned 18, then I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm ready now to start cosplaying females. And so of course I went off the deep end and I cosplayed Wonder Woman. With, just the old classic look with the panties. Of course, and when I cosplayed that, I was super, super, super nervous because of the fact that I was showing a lot more skin than I'd ever shown before in a convention, and that was very nerve-wracking for me. And then after that, like, my following did kind of rise a little bit. I did get a little bit more attention for that. And then I kept, cosplaying different characters, and then it got to around, so then that's when it got to around maybe in 2019, the beginning of, I had around 2,000-ish followers. And then I started One For All. So it was around June, July, I think, June, July in 2019 was when we started filming for One For All. And it was after the first episode came out that things just kind of started to take off a little bit. I previously did get a bit of attention because I used to cosplay, I still do, but I cosplayed Beauregard from Critical Role.
Yep. And
that got a bit of attention in Critical Role's cosplay circles. I was also featured on the Critical Role Cosplayer of the Month thing that they do. So that was really cool for me. And then, One For All happened, and then it just skyrocketed from there. And I, honestly, it felt like a whirlwind. Like, I did not expect it to happen like that. And I was kind of overwhelmed a lot by it because it felt like it was very daunting for me to see, like, people following me. And I just always felt like, oh gosh, that's a lot of people to disappoint. It was always very daunting to know that, like, that people were wanting to follow me and what I was doing. And I never, like, I almost felt like weirdly a bit of pressure to kind of measure up to people's expectations of who I was. Because I think people watch Nixie and then they're probably not expecting me to be quite different, because I don't feel like I'm very much like Nixie in that I'm quite a different type of person. And so I was like, oh god, like what are they expecting of me? Who do they think that I am? And am I just going to disappoint them when they realize that I'm nothing like what they expect or want? But I think I've just kind of had to ignore it and pretend that it's not there so that I can just be genuine. And that's all I really want to be. I just want to be like an open book. I want to be genuine. I want people to feel that I'm not, an enigma. I don't want to be an enigma. I don't want to be someone mysterious and out of touch. I want people to feel that they can talk to me, and not feel that I'm thinking that I'm above anyone because of a number on social media. It doesn't mean anything really in the scheme of things. I'm just a nerd like everyone else, and I just want to play D&D.
But funny you mentioned about those numbers is because when we started this whole thing, it's like, we're a tiny little channel and we're bored because of COVID. Let's do a podcast. And we started thinking,
why not?
It was just going to be the three of us. And then we were starting to think, why don't we just message some people? Like, okay, who can I message? This person, this person, this person. It's like, none of these people are ever going to reply. About a few days later, this guy replied. And then a few days after that, this guy replied. And I thought, okay, people are answering. Who else do we like? Like, try One For All. It's like, okay, I'm going to go with my other favorite. It's like, I just went for it. It's like, these are things that we never expected. But we are appreciative.
And I think that's the thing though, is the fact that like I enjoy doing stuff like this. Like I enjoy reaching out and talking to different people because I always feel like everyone has something new to bring to the table. And I like, and COVID's hit everywhere. Like I feel like everyone's kind of lonely right now, and to kind of have someone who's just wanting to talk about stuff that you're into, it's kind of like, hey, someone else. I think you will find that, people always have this perception, especially when you're small. And this is the same mindset that I had when I was a smaller Instagram. I mean, I don't consider myself a big Instagram channel yet. I don't know yet. I don't really know. I don't know what the parameters are, and when you get to be a big cosplayer or when you're still a small. I don't know. But I think when you are a smaller, when you don't have many followers, you do tend to have this idea that people will not think so much of you because you don't have as many people following you. But that's just not how it works at all. It's never about those numbers, because those numbers aren't indicative of your worth as a person. And I feel like to kind of measure yourself up that way is silly, because some awful people can have a massive amount of following, but they'll still be awful people. And having that many people following them is not going to change that at all. Whereas you can have the most loveliest person who doesn't have that many followers, but that doesn't mean that, that they're, there's nothing worthless about that. It's just, I don't know, it's silly to kind of measure up anyone's self-worth against, followers. And I honestly, the way that I think about it is that you are only one viral post away from being seen by everyone, because that's the way the internet works, is that, you have that one post that just goes viral and
everything follows.
That's it. Right, exactly.
And well, we are happy to talk to you because we're just happy to talk to other nerds like us. So I wanted to ask, just start to bring it back to that nerddom. You mentioned that you have a campaign that you joined, or a campaign that you're playing home games, I'm assuming. What do you like to play? We want to know what you like, what you actually... I guess you did say you enjoyed Nixie, but what are you playing at the moment? Or what do you want to play?
I actually play a lot of different types of characters. I played... some of my main characters have been bards. I'm also playing a barbarian rogue at the moment, a tabaxi barbarian rogue. I love her. Her name is Queenie, and she's amazing. And I'm playing a Kenku rogue also.
Little bird people.
Little bird people who can only do it. So that's a really fun part about that campaign, is the fact that I can literally only mimic what other players have already said. That makes it really hard in a roleplay way, but also really fun. Means I kind of have to play charades half the time. And what else do I play? I'm also playing a divination wizard who divinates through foodstuffs. So she's a hermit wood elf who basically uses people's meals and then just throws it on the ground and divinates their future through it. She's a total cryptid. She's a total cryptid, that one. Her name's Kovu, and she's crazy. She's the old stuff say that you need more fiber. And
That's great.
And what else? Yeah, I mean, I really love playing just fun characters who are just different, and I don't know, I've never really played the I mean of course I've played the stereotypical pretty elf, but my elf was a eunuch who didn't really care whether or not they were mistaken as a boy or a girl. They were just they've been a child, so it all lets you puberty. So yeah, and they were just they were also a vegan, but when they became, because they were a druid, so when they became a bear, they would just eat people. They didn't care. They were fine, you're vegan.
Oh.
Important question: Is your bard anything like Andres?
Actually, okay, this is the weird thing. My bard is exactly like Andres. In the point where when we started setting up the game, I pulled out my Andres Mini, and it looks exactly like him. exactly like him. Crazy. Like, we pulled him out, and the guy who plays Antreus is just like, why do you have a miniature of me? My friends made it for me. My friends made that miniature for me for my birthday. And I'm just like, I had no control, so...
Okay. When you're telling the stories of your character, one of my favorite episode is the tragic backstories. Can you Can you tell me about some? Do you like tragic backstories in your characters? Can you tell me some? I mean, you already told the eunuch elf. I mean, that there's something tragic on that one.
He never miss it because he never had it. He doesn't care. I do love my tragic backstories, but only in the sense that I enjoy ones that serve a purpose. So like, I feel that it's always nice when like a story kind of develops a character to where they are now. Not so much just being like, oh, their parents are dead, and their grandparents are dead, and everyone they love is dead, and they're just tragic and sad. Like, I find that kind of boring. It's overdone. It's boring. So I did actually have. Okay, so here's my best. One of my favorite characters was a Thiefling cleric, and she essentially her backstory was that she was shunned and all that sort of stuff by her father's family. So her father was human, her mother was Thiefling. And once her father died, the family was like, "Hey, we didn't really approve of his marriage to a Tiefling, so we're actually going to kick you out of the estate and all that sort of stuff." So she went from living this beautiful childhood of opulence, basically crashing down when her mother and her had to move to the slums to kind of make ends meet. And then growing up, she kind of turns to selling her body, but in a way where she would like drug men and then steal their stuff. So basically she just kind of was running a bit of like a con, really, where she would like, kind of meet people, think that they would think that it's going a certain way, and then she'd be like, nope, I put drugs in your drink and now I've stolen everything that you own. And so she wasn't. So she's not a good person. But the unfortunate part was that she then had basically someone who she had conned catch up with her, and essentially she fell pregnant with this guy's child, and was like, you know what? I'm actually ready to turn my life around. I want to, become a proper person. I want to become a mother for this child. And but the issue was that when the father, the rapist, found out that that she was about to bear his child, he's like, actually, I don't want to face the consequences of my actions, and was like, I'm going to go murder them. And so when he came into murder, she basically was like, no. And after, basically she prays up to Lolth, the goddess of spiders, and is like, give me your power and I will kill, I will like, give me your powers, make me, I will be a cleric of, your domain, and help me, fight. And so she basically like sacrifices these guys' bodies plus the unfortunately the body of her dead child, and basically just is like, I sacrifice everything to become a cleric of you. And then I used her in a campaign, in a one-shot campaign, where she then betrayed everyone, becoming, Lolth's kind of vessel on Earth. And yeah, so that was probably the most tragic backstory I've had, where she essentially just sacrificed everything. She was just a woman scorned, essentially. Like, every time that she tried to pull herself back up, she was getting beaten down. And so she's like, you know what, F this. I'm going to become, a cleric of the most evil goddess, and I will tear down on everything. So that's her story.
I
That's probably the most tragic one.
I would
What was
watch a
that, sorry?
series. I would watch a series revolving around that story. That's like,
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I enjoy making complicated characters, and while I do think that a sexual assault does get overused sometimes in backstories, especially for women, it's overused. That's the thing, and it is over. And I used it in that backstory as well. And I don't, but I kind of wanted her damage not necessarily to come from that specifically, because she kind of saw that child as something beautiful that came from something awful, but like just to change her life around. But then it felt like life just threw her back down again, and so it's kind of like, it's like every time I try to get back up and try and do something good, life throws me back down. So how about I just descend into evil and show them what they've missed out on. Like I'll show them essentially. And so I really enjoyed playing her because she was just a beautiful Thiefling woman, and no one suspected anything until the end, when she put the evil crown on her head and became vessel for a god. And I'm just handed me the sheet and was just like, here, go nuts. Like all these ungodly powers.
it's amazing.
My poor friends, they had no idea.
Jay?
Oh my god, they didn't know what's coming for them.
No, they had no idea.
I would just want her to be happy. Oh my god.
I only want that for her. I only want her to be happy.
She deserves to be happy. Jay?
She deserves to be happy, damn it.
Her name's
I already got
Latte.
attached.
Yeah, no, she deserves happiness, that one. I want her to be happy too. She's happy now. She became the vessel for her god. So, I feel like there's no greater privilege for a cleric to become the vessel on the earthly plane.
That's true. I was wondering, because TJ here likes the tragic backstory episode. I personally like the perception check episode. That's like the cutest episode I've seen, and I really adored that one.
That was a
I
miss.
was wondering, did you have an odd experience while filming outside during that episode specifically?
What's really funny is just the amount of people who just pretend that we don't exist when we're in public. Like, we don't really get a lot of people coming up and being like, what are you? And what are you doing? We mostly get people coming up and just kind of side-eyeing us and then just walking away. Like,
who are these
kind of
wackos?
pretending like we're not. What satanic cult is going on here? They probably see me with my horns and
the
just
pink
like,
skin.
Yeah, and they're probably like just grabbing their children, just being like, "Don't look at them! Don't look at them! Don't look at them!"
You guys are going to bring back a satanic panic at some point.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Look, to be honest, kind of an honor. Like, let's bring it back.
I can imagine, actually, if I was just some random guy who didn't know anything about D&D and I see these guys plate armor, swords, and a girl with horns and pink skins. That's disorienting to see in the middle of the street.
Yeah, it would be. 100% it would be. The thing is, though, I feel like as a cosplayer who has been taking public transport to conventions for years, who's been going to like meetups and all that sort of stuff in public, wearing costume, full like garb, everything, you kind of just get used to it. You kind of just get used to people kind of pretending that you don't exist, and then the people who are just like, why are you here? Why do you look like that? And you get used to feeling like I'm losing all my words. Like you're in a museum and you're an outsider, or like an exhibit. That's it, like an exhibit. So you kind of just get used to looks like that, and so I feel if anything, that's probably one of the parts of filming that actually doesn't bother me is because if people are going to stare, I mean, they're going to stare. The only issue is when they stand right in the camera and they're just staring at us like while we're filming.
But they don't notice the camera.
Pardon?
No, I want to ask something. You were talking about, the costumes you made and how proud you are, and of course, bringing them to conventions and other things. Have you ever gone overboard with a prop? And for example, because I have a friend who went overboard with his gun as part of her costume, and the guards here actually stopped her for a second because of how real she made it look. But have you ever done something to a prop where people just kind of, not necessarily stopped by a guard or anything, but people just kind of thought, is that real? Is she going to do something? It's like, did anyone give you a crazy look because of a prop that you've made before?
I have to say no, only because I actually don't make that many props. I think one of the only props that I ever made was, do you guys remember when Attack on Titan was a thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I made 3D maneuver gear when I cosplayed Levi from that series. Yeah, like the side things. So I made my own set of 3D maneuver gear, and that was one of the only props that I've made. The other prop, actually, one second, is right here.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, please.
Oh my goodness.
And the only reason I would say that I went overboard with this one is because it's just so big.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
So
I
made that it's a bow.
Yeah.
It's a big bow. But I made it for a advertisement that we're working on at the moment. And so yeah, it was a lot bigger than I meant it to be. I didn't mean for it to be that big, but it ended up being that big, and so I was like, all right, guess I'm just gonna have to work with this then.
Looks good though.
Well,
That's amazing.
So it really could have been better, but I didn't leave myself enough time, as usual.
Jay?
I was actually wondering, amongst all of your cosplays, which one is your favorite?
Or is it like picking your favorite child?
Yeah.
It's kind of like
your favorite child.
One is like a labor of love. You know, you kind of pick out your character, you pick someone that you love.
Mhm.
And then you dedicate time to picking out the fabrics. You dedicate time to, making a pattern. You dedicate time to creating, the final product. There's so much love and patience that goes into it. And I say love and patience, but most of the time you're there just like swearing away as you just like sew through it and, going, why did I do this in the first place? And what are the con? And you just like, you want to die, but you love it. You love it at the end. When you get to wear it, I think for the first time when it's all together and you put it on and you kind of just look at yourself in the mirror and you go, I actually don't hate it. And then that's the point when you go, okay, I'm here, I did it. Like, I think my gauge for how much I like a costume is the fact that I don't hate it. Because if you've spent that much time on it and you put it on and you don't hate it, you've done a good job. But oh god, favorite. That's really hard.
Or at least most memorable.
Yeah. My favorite
Most
is the
memorable
gender bend gambit. That's the one that I love.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I did that one with a friend. He just kind of posted on just saying, oh, I'm doing male rogue. Someone be my gambit. And so I messaged and was like, I'll be your gambit. And he's like, yeah.
My favorite was the leveled up bow.
Pardon?
My favorite was the leveled up Beauregard. I loved that.
Oh,
the detail
really?
on that. I loved that one.
Oh my god, that costume. Yeah, I actually had quite a few friends help me with that one just because I brought it to con not finished. And I was like, oh my god, what have I done? Like, why did I bring it to con not finished? And so I think it was around maybe about 3 o'clock before I actually got to con, because I'd spent all morning just working on it. And yeah, but you know what? I actually got to go to con wearing it. I got to still take some awesome photos in it. So, I mean, I ain't mad. I am going to redo it though. There are some elements of it that I'm just not happy with. So I will be redoing elements of it as well as like the detailing on it because I want to make it absolutely perfect. And right now it's not up to my standard.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I want to
out again. I miss it.
Yeah, excuse me. I do really just want to nerd out for a second with you here. Critical Role.
Yeah,
You're obviously you're a fan, so I
Yes,
have to
but-
ask you.
I will say I am behind. Is this a spoiler?
Oh no, not a spoiler. It's a question.
Oh yeah.
What I'm probably going to take so much flack for how I'm going to answer this if any Critter fan is watching. But Widow Jest or Fordster? I'm assuming you're a shipper of something. If you are.
I am a shipper.
Of?
Can I say Bojest?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Can I say to BH, like that's kind of the aesthetic I love. I always love like a person who's just like, you know, tough and, you know, like defensive and full of like defense mechanisms. And there's one person who's just really sweet and happy and loving and all that sort of stuff. And so I think I kind of like Bojest. I don't know. Like I don't know. I'm also a multi-shipper, so to be honest, I also do love Ford and Jester because I think that that's really cute. Like I just think they're very soft. But
I feel.
yeah, no.
I feel a little bit sad because I'm still Widow Jest all the way. I feel a little sad now.
That's a bad point.
Wait,
Yeah, look, dancing is always really, really soft to me.
Were
But
you-
yeah,
were you not taken in by the dancing from the early episodes? Just them dancing? Wasn't that it?
yeah. Look, like I said, I'm behind, so I don't know if there's something that's happened more recently that's.
Oh, no, it was kind of really early. If you were in the first 40s, I think. They're dancing.
Yeah, when they're dancing but then he says someone else's name. Yeah, like that was really sad. I thought that was really, really sweet, and then also got really sad, and I was like, oh no.
Jay,
Yeah, no, I think that I honestly I love all of them like together. Like as a group, they just work so well, and I think it doesn't matter who ends up with who, if anyone ends up with anyone.
Yeah.
That I think that they all work so well as a group that
Of
I
course.
don't think I would be upset either way.
of course. But we're nerds. We ship. It's how we do things.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Jay, you were.
I
I think Jay was excited. I think Jay was excited to ask about something right now.
Yeah, very excited actually. I saw your cosplay as I believe Andrew from All for the Game.
Oh my god, you're into that?
I am. Oh my god, I love him so much. Oh my
Oh
goodness.
my god. Okay. Oh my
Good
god.
idea.
No.
That was so beautiful.
Was
Oh
well
my
done.
gosh, no, my friends and I were obsessed with All for the Game and
Oh my-
we love it so much. And so I actually read it first and then I got my friend who cosplays as Andrew to read it and she's like, what did you send me? Like, what is this? And I'm like, just read it. She's like, who's gonna end up together? And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna tell you because I feel like it'll ruin everything. Just read it. Oh
my
man, I
goodness.
love it so much.
Yeah.
It's actually
It did
funny.
so much justice. It was so beautiful. Like, oh my god.
It's actually funny how she got obsessed with that. It's because we were playing a home game of Vampire the Masquerade, another tabletop game. And we always look for portraits for our characters. And she found this portrait. It's like, that's a really good portrait. Who is this guy? And then she started searching for it. She found the Foxhole Court, and then she just went down the rabbit hole all the way down there.
I saw him kneel in his scars, and I was like, I want to know what's the story behind this boy.
Oh my god, yeah,
Precious.
right. How good is okay? I like it, it's a great series. The characters are amazing. It's not the best written, but it's just so good. Like it grips you. When I first read it, I could not put it down. Like I read it throughout the whole weekend. Like I was just reading, and then as soon as I finished one, I just bought the next one, and then just kept going. Like I could not stop reading it. It's so good.
Right there with you. Like it was a work day, but I'm still listening to the audiobook because I need to finish this. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
No,
I'm sorry. I needed to get that out.
I can attest. Her obsession with that was off the charts when I
I'm
was going
sorry.
through that.
I mean, when I saw her cosplay, it's like, oh my god.
It's to me. I wear so many eyelashes all the time. They're off now. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
I'm no longer as cute, but it's alright.
You're fine.
Amazing.
You're fine.
Mhm. Still look amazing.
You're still the best one in this podcast right now. You're still the best looking one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. We're little. Sorry.
What time is it where you guys are?
8:40.
Okay, it's 10:38.
Yeah, I'm sorry. We're a
10:40.
little overtime. I'm so sorry.
Don't even apologize.
I just
I was
want.
just like, I don't know why I put these on, but I was like, I'll be cute and I'll put them on, and then like halfway through this, I'm like, oh, actually, why did I do this to myself?
Don't torture yourself.
Every cosplay ever.
Yeah, right.
Because Jay is a cosplayer.
That's an uncomfortable part of Nixie, and I'm like, they're like, what about the scleras? And I'm like, nah, the scleras are fine. It's the eyelashes that kill me.
It's the eyelash. It's very heavy and weird. It's like you never forget about it. It's always there. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
why?
Exactly.
And I wanted to ask you again something. Do you have other games that you like to play under the tabletop genre? Like other than D&D, have you tried anything else? Are you interested in anything else?
I really want to play Call of Cthulhu. But to be honest, other than D&D, I haven't actually played anything else, which makes me feel really slack. But I need to find groups who want to play the same games, and sometimes, unfortunately, it's a little bit harder to find them, especially now when everyone's isolating and stuff like that. I honestly thought like Call of Cthulhu was like a different D&D expansion. Like I don't know what do you call it? They're not expansions. They're like different world. But then someone was like, no, it's played completely different. Like the sheets are different and everything. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's a completely different game. So yeah, like I really do want to play that. Just because I do love the 1920s like style theme. Like I think that's really cool. Lots of like Great Gatsby vibes, which makes me very happy. And so yeah, so I really want to play it. But yeah, I need to find people to play it with.
Two things. One, you just made my entire evening because our channel was not originally podcasts. We started as a Call of Cthulhu live play group over the internet.
Oh shit, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but my setting was in this fictional city that I wrote in the modern day because I wanted to take a modern aesthetic to it. Two is Call of Cthulhu is designed to torture you. It's in D&D it's like you're the hero and you're fighting against these villains and you're trying to become the hero or you're trying to get bigger and conquer enemies. In Call of Cthulhu, it's all about how long does it take for your enemies to conquer you. That's it. How long can you delay?
That sounds like so much fun. Just the idea of you, like it's impending. Like it is constantly just over your head that you are going to perish.
You know what?
And I love that.
I'll say,
like it's so much tenser and more exciting. I love it.
I'll tell you. If you want, one weekend I gather these guys and doesn't have to be on the internet, but we can do a one shot over Discord.
I am so down with that.
I have a lot of Call of Cthulhu modules. If you're familiar with Lovecraft, like Masks of Nyarlathotep is a little long. it's more than a one-shot, but there are lots of one-shot modules that I have that can be run over like 4 hours. If you want to play with us, if you want to experience it.
So down. I am so down. I am more than happy to play. Yeah.
The only thing you really need, are a bunch of D10s, and we can.
So amazing.
We don't have to pause it out. We can make this a home game. Just so you can have the experience of what is called in Call of Cthulhu's fumbling is the equivalent of Nat 1, except it's so much worse.
Easy. All right. Yeah. Okay, that's it. I'm gonna create a character. I'll contact you, and let's get this going. I'm excited.
I can totally walk you through making a character. It also gets a little depressing, but I can run a module in the 1920s if you really want that. There's also Call of Cthulhu, Cthulhu by Gaslight.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to play in whatever what kind of setting you wanna put together.
Because I've got multiple. Like there's Achtung Cthulhu if you want to play Nazi Germany. There's Cthulhu. There's a nuclear age Cthulhu if you want to play during this sort of nuclear warfare time. There's so many settings. It's an expansive game over time. I can prepare one module for you, so you can try playing it. Maybe introduce it to your friends.
This is so many options.
I can handle the game for you, but I can gather a bunch of people and we.
Setting, and I'll make a character that fits. Let's do it that way.
I can work you through calculation. It's funny because Call of Cthulhu is just it's a race between which one of you turns insane first, and at the end of it in Call of Cthulhu you get things called phobias and manias. Basically, you accumulate irrational fears, and at the end of it there's this joke about.
I am full of fear.
At the end of it, there's this joke about players are always trying to compare which one has the most phobias, and you're the real winner. Once the game is over, you're the real winner, depending on how many phobias you've collected. You show it proudly on the sheet.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
I am amazing. Okay, let's do it. I love this.
Yeah, our time zones are less than 2 hours. Are 2 hours apart. I'm more than happy.
Very easy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can work around that easily.
Oh, I'm so sorry. We've gone completely over, but.
That's totally fine.
There's just one last thing I want to ask before we finish this. Just one note that I want to end on. Are you a dice goblin?
Yes. 1 second.
Oh no.
Show off the collection.
You gotta show off the collection.
Of course, if you're a dice goblin, you have to show them.
That's the point of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
You just be proud of them.
Just be proud of all.
Jay, get
all
your
of
dice.
Those shaking.
Jay, get all your dice. We need to compare collections.
I'll show it later before we
Or,
oh my
goodness,
god!
a lot.
Oh, that's a lot. I only have this.
I feel defeated.
Oh my god!
okay, so this is my bag that I made. I made it. It's a reversible bag.
It's beautiful, actually.
Thank you.
I was not expecting that. Oh my god.
Same. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Do you happen to sell those? Would you consider selling those?
Yes, would you consider selling those? That's a very pretty bag.
Oh my god.
That's a...
There's so many.
Would you
1 second.
Would you consider selling that bag or those bags? Because I would absolutely buy one if once shipping is available again.
Yeah, I could. I've never thought about selling things before.
I would absolutely sell. It's very beautiful. Oh my god, that's a lot.
So,
I feel defeated.
So I have.
Feel like I'm not so bad anymore.
Yeah.
All of this, all in 3 years, guys. 3 years.
You have prison dice, though. For all the bad rolls. Dice prison.
Well,
yeah, dice prison.
That's a good point.
Yeah, like I can go through so many dice and okay, you're bad, and still have so many more dice to choose from. I'm trying to find all my d20s just.
That's a good point. How's your luck? Like, how often do you get on the good side versus the bad side of a roll?
I have some really pretty stupid luck. As in, when I roll like for my stats for characters, a lot of the time I get really, really good stats, And so a lot of DMs that I play with when I make a new character tell me I have to use like a standard array instead because I like really good stats and they're like, okay, this isn't fair. One. And
So much 18.
No, there's another one.
There's so much clacking in that box. I cannot believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think
Click clack. It's like satisfying my goblins of the click clacks. Click clacks, nice.
These here are all my DMs.
Oh my god,
That's a lot.
those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't feel bad now for ourselves.
I've got 15
Sorry, what was
15
that?
sets.
Oh, 15.
15 sets of dice.
That's a lot.
This
Yeah,
This
so
one,
I've got 15
this
of
one,
dice that I play with.
this one right here is my favorite. It's my Cthulhu themed dice. It was actually custom made. It's what I use.
Wow.
It's what I there's a shop here in the Philippines. If you want to order, I think they ship out, but they custom make. They have the template and they custom make the color for you. And
That's
this is the dice I use to torture them in Call of Cthulhu. The D10 here.
He always gets good rolls. Why?
And then,
Why?
Yeah.
that one dice that the DM has that is so skewed. And
yeah,
you just,
player killer dice.
Player killer dice.
That's what I call them.
The player killer dice.
Anyway, we are so thankful to have had this chance to talk to you, to nerd out, and
thank you so much for having me on.
I will say that you are the nerdiest guest that we've had, and it's so much fun to talk to you. It's been so fun. And we've had great guests. We've had great guests. They were sweet, they were kind, but you are the nerdiest one that we've had yet, and it's just the best feeling.
10 over 10.
The nerdiness is just there.
Yeah, well, if it's about D&D, like I adore it. Like it's definitely a game that I've found has just really changed like how I view collaboration, teamwork, all that sort of stuff. Like the role play is so much fun. I don't know, it's just such a great game, and I think more people should play it. So I will always speak very highly of D&D.
I think you will absolutely love Call of Cthulhu. If you want to drag anyone along, please do. I am so happy to run a game for you guys. Casual game over a weekend. It would be so much fun. Thank you again, Paul, for coming on, for talking about stuff, for nerding out with us, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for nerding out with us. And
of course, nerding out with me.
Good night or good day to everyone who's watching. Bye.
Bye.